Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mr. Happy, aka Mr. Happy Mondays, the weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions and I answer them. I predict this video will be a little bit shorter, much like some of the weekly Q&As we've had in recent weeks, mostly because during my live stream today, I kind of peeked a little bit at what some of the questions would be, because we were, well, talking about a question I received in recent weeks that was very surprising, and I can already tell you that by the end of this video, I will have something of a minor reaction to something that I've already read in my comment section before this. The only thing I want to say, alongside this video, I'm releasing a channel update video. I've mentioned in recent weeks how soon I would kind of be ready to talk about where my headspace was at and what my plans were for the future. And that, well, I recorded that video right before this one, and so that's going to be released alongside it. It's nothing too crazy. Like, I'm not like stopping YouTube or anything. I know people always think that whenever a YouTuber doesn't upload after a while. But it is just where I'm at, why the videos have been slower, and what the plans are for videos, even just going through the year, like ideas that I have that I like to produce things for, obviously Final Fantasy 14 stuff, but and other stuff as well that you'll actually be seeing this week. But go watch that video, or if you're coming over from that video, welcome. And now we can do that weekly Q&A thing where I pretend I'm important and answer questions on the internet. So thank you to our sponsors over on Patreon for supporting. They don't have to. All my content is free here on YouTube. So when they decide to do that, they're extra special to me. But thank you to them, our patrons of darkness, Khuja, Janova, and Kurenai Oni, for going above and beyond. And with that, let's see what the questions are. Well, you'll see. I've already read them. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. You know, funny thing, I didn't read this one. I just kind of glanced over it before I started reading. I was like, wait, I didn't actually read this one before. Hey, Haps, how you doing? I'm doing all right. You doing all right? I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. You doing all right? Awesome. First time asking here, so enjoy a bento box bonus with all the fixings. Oh, I just made a brisket, like slow cooked for 6 hours, and then made some gravy with the drippings. Oh, all good. With the slew of games that came out recently and other exciting titles to come before the end of the month, I've been having to pick and choose which games I get more so than usual. Even harder as Square Enix fans with 4 games being released within a couple of weeks. My question is, what do you look for most in an upcoming title when deciding if it ends up in your list of games to buy? Does that criteria change when it's a game you play off stream? So I'll tell you right now, in the past 7 years, the number of games I've purchased to play off stream is maybe 1 or 2. Almost every game decision I make, or a purchase I decide to make, or even just trying to get a free game key, whatever the reason may be, I look at, will I make content on this? Now, that can be anything from a Twitch stream to a YouTube video. It could be a tweet even. As long as I'm tweeting about it, then I feel somewhat okay making the decision, because social media is an important part of what I do for a living as well. So for me, I look at the games that are most likely to succeed on my channel. And over the years, I've taken shots at things that aren't my usual and seen what sticks and what doesn't. For example, Horizon Forbidden Dawn. Horizon... Wait, what was the original one called? I know for the new one's Forbidden West. What was the original? Was it Horizon? Who cares? It's HZD, Zero Dawn. There you go, Horizon Zero Dawn. That's it. I reverse engineered it. I tried streaming that when it came out, and it just wasn't hot on the channel. Like, it was very, very cold. So even though I was enjoying it, I couldn't bring myself to commit to this super long, big open world game that was not performing well. It was just would have been a bad idea. So consequentially, I skipped Forbidden West. I just had to happen that way. But whenever I see anything from Square Enix, I know there's almost guaranteed to be I guess an interest crossover between myself and the people who enjoy the content on my channel. So things like Strangers of Paradise, Triangle Strategy, the Pixel remasters, those are easy choices because I'm already interested in those games and they're from a company that, you know, is regular on my channel as it is. Now, that being said, probably not playing Chrono Cross Remaster because I have strong opinions about Chrono Cross and I would like to not revisit those emotions if you don't mind that. But that is honestly the biggest thing for me. And it's not great advice because it's not advice most people can do. Most people aren't like, oh, well, other people watch me play this game. Oh, that's what I'll buy. No. Most people will play they just have to pick and choose. They have to go to like review sites and ask personal opinions from people who have played it. And that's the best way they're going to make decisions as a consumer. My nose is so itchy for this video. Like my right nostril's just, oh. I mean, you guys see every time my mustache starts growing back in, I always start to, because when I talk, sometimes it like, oh, it tickles it like that. Anyway, hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hi. Hope you're doing all right. I'm doing all right. You doing all right? I'm doing all right. I was wondering if you're planning on making a video about the catch-up gear system coming with 6.1 Alliance raid. Well, bear in mind, it's not like a whole system for it. Essentially, the gear from that is just item levels below what you can get from Savage, but consequentially, because it's a step up from what you could otherwise obtain from easier content prior, it just makes it easier to raise that item level and get into the next stuff, upgrade Tombstone gear a little bit, even if more slowly than if you were doing the raids on the weekly, the Savage raids on the weekly, or just picking up the pieces themselves, the left side pieces, the 590 pieces. You know, maybe it's the ability to upgrade the crafted gear. Now, that being said, I do see your point. I have made videos about this in the past, but it is not common knowledge, especially to the number of people who started playing with Endwalkers. So it may not be the worst idea. I'll put it on the list of things that I should consider before the patch as opposed to after. Granted, that's a bit of a risk because they could always do it different. There's always a chance. I can't act like it's always exactly the same, but like 99% of the time it's the same. So yeah, I probably would, I'll at least put this on the list of things to consider. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays with Mr. Happy. That's a lot of me. And that's probably too much of me for most people. Hey, yo, hi. Do you have any suggestions on how to make a static or what to look for in recruiting for a static? No, because I don't run a static. And I would hate to run a static because it's people. I was saying today on stream that being a content creator and being someone who works in retail has very similar trajectory. It's like a loop. You start off with like not really being able to handle people because they act a certain way and you're not used to interacting with them on like a large scale. So you don't act appropriately, but you kind of learn as you go. You know, there's the loop right here, and you're like, okay, you know, okay, this is someone's unruly, someone's being kind of rude, whatever. I know how to deal with that. That's not going to get to me. And then you hit your peak where everything seems like you've kind of mastered it. But then you just spend a little more time, and what starts to happen is you loop back around where you're like, oh my god, this again. Oh man, you start telling your friends about it. You just can't stand anything that anybody's doing. To finally going full circle back where you're just like, I don't want to ever see another person for the rest of my life. That's kind of what being on the end. Being a static leader, probably pretty similar to that, in all honesty. So I'm going to assume that that's kind of what they go through. But without the experience, it would be irresponsible for me. I can only point you to the avenues with which people recruit and encourage you to maybe, like, I don't know, try to make sure everyone's like-minded so that way people don't have like, oh, we're progressing too slow, we're progressing too fast, blah, blah, blah. Or you have massively different skill levels. You have the gold parsing Dragoon with the, like, you know, can't even live through one mechanic after doing it for 3 weeks straight, white mage or something like that. It's about matching skill levels, matching goals, and then it's just hoping that personalities mesh because people. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, Mr. Happy. Hi. I've been following your guides for a few years now. I want to let you know I preferred your guides over everyone else's due to the elaborated information given. So thank you. Also, we're having a fantastic Monday. Hopefully, I will be having a fantastic Monday. And thank you for the kind words, but just bear in mind that other content creators do create some fantastic stuff. So don't just write them off just because it may not be elaborate enough, because there are lots of ways that people can learn, and sometimes you'll find someone who does it different, but it's still really good for your learning style. What's your opinion on gear progression as far as crafting? Oh, crafting. Okay, I was ready to read this as crafted. I've been leveling up my crafters, want to be able to make my own bis gear by the time they are 90. I've been leveling. Well, the gear you get while leveling up isn't super important for being ready to craft bis by the... You said by the time they are 90. No, at 90, you essentially just commit fully to getting the gear and doing the melds. I mean, while you're leveling up, you kind of do things as needed. From what I understand, and this is from my memory because I've leveled some crafters before, most people try to take whatever they used at the end of the previous expansion and they try to ride some pretty easy crafts all the way up through the next level cap, and then they replace it with whatever the highest level item level gear, is at the time. Now, as expansions go on, more gear will come out that's higher item level, and thus you have like a new higher tier goal to aim for. So your progression to 90 now and the gear you'll have at 90 or the gear you'll get at 90 will change when the future patches come out and they add a new tool and they add new left side, a new right side, and those are usually all timed at different times. So don't worry too much about being able to craft bis gear, your own bis gear. And I'm assuming, by the way, you mean your own crafting bis gear, not crafted bis gear. Don't worry too much about that. All that's really important is that whatever set is below the BIS crafting set is what you have, and then you give it some melts. And that usually is how you'll step up to the next level when new gear itself really does come out. Is it worth crafting a new set every 3 levels? I'd say no. There's a reply under this, and I'm willing to bet that reply has some pretty good advice, because I'm not a crafting main. When I have actually leveled my crafters, I almost never replace the gear outside of the every 10 level jump, unless I get something from a quest. Just because I'll usually use like Beast Tribe dailies, or I'll just do daily turn-ins with the crafted stuff that you can turn into your Grand Company, or I'll do leave quests, which are usually really easy to make and don't have high crafting requirements. But yeah, I just click the reply and it says script gear. Script gear at the various level ranges is usually enough to get to the next set of script gear as you're actually doing the leveling. But it's a little different before 50, but before 50, it's also not too tough either. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey Haps, how are you? Doing all right. I generally don't care all that much about what is the meta when it comes to rating. It does seem, though, that this expansion has had people talking about the balance of jobs and how poor it has been. Paladin, Ninja, Machinist being the easiest to point out for most people. Paladin? That's strange, because I don't hear anyone talk. The only tank anyone ever talks about around me is Dark Knight. Because everyone's like, wow, it does so much DPS, but I hate playing it. And then Gunbreaker kind of the same. Oh, this does so much DPS, but that optimization. I almost never hear anyone talking about Warrior or Paladin. They're just like, yeah, I like these jobs. They're fun. Maybe make them a little stronger, and that's it. Ninja was obviously the heat of a lot of talk, and Machinist kind of always is because of Hypercharge. But honestly, I don't even think those 3 are the most talked about jobs on the list. Ninja maybe before, but definitely not Paladin. That's kind of a surprise. I don't know who you're talking to, because that's not what I hear when I'm like live streaming or talking to people about anything. Do you feel this expansion job balance is more or less how it usually is? It's a little bit more off than usual, I think. The highs are higher and the lows are lower. And I think Reaper had a lot to do with that. It really set the bar much higher for what DPS jobs could do. And Monk has also kind of fallen into that as well. And now as speed killers start modifying their setups to really get the fastest kills possible out of fights, you're seeing jobs that were otherwise not considered strong picks to work better in these really quick kill environments. So again, as you've said, what is the meta is really not that important of a discussion, because it's so different depending on who's playing and the skill level of the people that are playing. But I will say that, to the question directly, that they didn't drop the ball, but there's definitely a greater discrepancy in job balance at the start of this expansion than I feel like there was at the start of previous expansions. Except maybe Heavensward. That was pretty rough. 2 quick lightning rounds. Somebody replying to the console keyboard question that I answered last week, just following up from that. Thank you for the reply to that. And also somebody asked me about new spells for Blue Mage. I feel like I've been asked that a lot in the past recent months, so I just didn't take that question for that reason. I couldn't point you directly to which weekly Q&As have the answer to that question, but the general, I just wasn't really sure. I didn't really have a great answer for it before, and that hasn't changed. As for the question in front of us, hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello, Mr. Happy. Hope you're doing all right. I'm doing all right. You doing all right? I'm doing all right. Would you know why we don't have more Savage difficulty content for more than 8 players? Finally completed Delubin Regine Savage last October and had a great time. Made me wonder why things like Ivalice or Near Savage don't exist. As HP or other developers commented on over the years, was DRS essentially an experiment? Well, first of all, DRS is not the first piece of higher difficulty content that we've had for multiple people. Baldesion Arsenal was the blueprint with which DRS was refined. Now, Baldesion Arsenal, significantly easier than DRS, really closer to a 24-man in difficulty, but with much tougher rules. Obviously, the damage intake is much higher. It has the elemental wheel that Eureka has. It has the actions and all the special items that Eureka has. And of course, if you die, you cannot be resurrected. Much like DRS, you need to use a very strict action. DRS actually much less strict with the fixing people dying kind of thing. You more often get healer LB3s. There are more ways to res people. Really don't use sacrifice in there, as opposed to just praying for the normal res or the lost raise to actually work with the correct action. So there's a whole bunch of differences, but that's the blueprint for it. There's a number of reasons. One, coordinating that many people sucks. They don't want to put pressure on people to have to coordinate these massive groups in order to enjoy any content that they release. They generally want stuff that can be done in small groups that are easier to coordinate. It's just how they've always built it. It's better that way. And I agree. I'm not a huge fan of super large scale raids anymore. As a youngin', you know, I loved hopping in, you know, the big 40 mans or 20 mans or 25 mans, or in the case of Final Fantasy 11, 64 mans. It was like this cool, oh, look how epic we are. But I think of the coordination and the coordinating disasters that occurred during all of those times, and I'm glad to not have to deal with them. Even when I'm not the one coordinating, I see the stress of the person who is in charge or the people who are in charge, and it is atrocious. That's one of the reasons. Two, it is incredibly resource intensive, especially when it comes to QA, to actually test that style of content. They have enough trouble getting 8 people together to test the ultimate encounters. Imagine trying to get 48 of your employees when you don't have a QA team that is specifically 48 people large to properly do a QA cycle of doing something, reporting feedback, having it fixed, doing it, reporting feedback, having it fixed, adjusted, whatever. Not a great thing. Resource-wise, also, the 24-mans, they don't really want to touch them in that regard. It would help resource-wise to actually take those things and make them more difficult, as opposed to doing stuff like they do with DRS, where clearly they made Delubrum Regine Savage first, and then downscaled it to normal. Whereas with the 24-mans, if they don't do that, they would have to start with the normal and then develop a Savage after the fact, which ends up being more resource intensive than the other way around, and something they don't want to do. But the main reason is definitely the sheer size being the actual problem. They just don't want to have to force people to make these large groups to participate in a lot of their newer content. So we get 1, maybe 2 large scale options per expansion, and that's probably the way that it's going to stay. If we even see that with the Criterion dungeons, we may not see anything like that this expansion. We'll just have to wait and see. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Bonjour, Monsieur Happy. I think that was right. I do not normally interact with YouTubers. Hope I'm not too late or that you've had a question asked like this before. Trust me, I probably have had a question. I like to say I answer questions that are repeats because there's no way I can expect someone to know if I've answered a question before. Would you consider doing an analysis of Dragonsong Reprise Ultimate? I only now have been setting foot into Uwu, and your general overview walkthrough of the fight has helped me immensely in gaining an understanding as to what the other roles are doing. It, alongside of Kleese's guide, I've gotten pretty far in it within a couple of hours. I understand it's the easiest, but I definitely attribute you and Kleese to the majority of the comprehension. I'd love to watch you break down the next Ultimate. So the short answer to this is yes, because I actually love talking about the Ultimate encounters. No doubt I'll be posting videos as we progress through the phases. Oh, all of Phase 1 with Phase 2's with a Phase 2 wipe, all of Phase 2 with a Phase 3 wipe, or what is the special gimmick for this Ultimate? How do you get past this? I love talking about those and having those discussions. I will say that my Ultimate progression experience, Uwu has been the only one that has been a clean experience the whole way through. I didn't have a static going into Ukab because I was trying to be hard-headed and say, well, only play monk, so I wasn't really flexible. And to be frank, I wasn't even really looking that hard. So all I did was I filled for a group doing fresh prog for the first couple of days. We got to the Bahamut phase and maybe a few trios in, and then their regular, like the person who I was filling in for a few days, returned. And then I didn't touch that fight again for months and months and months until eventually a friend of mine wanted to make a group with a few first-timers, a few beat-it-once-timers, and himself, who had beaten it 20, 30, 40 times. I have no idea. So it was a reprog group, essentially. And that reprog went very, very quickly, like 20 to 25 hours. Not the most professional way to break down and analyze a fight. Even if I could, it just felt like, yeah, you know what? That's fine. Ooh, I did from scratch. We worked together. We were in the top like 15 or something on the clears. And of course, I have my ever so lovely "You're My Bitch Now" video. In fact, the fight mechanics and whatnot, I just noticed. I haven't actually looked at that video in ages. That has 131,000 views. I'm surprised. An hour and 49-minute video with that kind of viewership is very, very surprising. So moving on from that, and then T happened. That group started off kind of okay, but in the second week, you know, somebody was kicked because they were holding the group back. Somebody left because they got in a fight the very next day. 3 days later, one of our tanks left, and then I was like, you know what? I can't replace half the raid group and then expect to keep going when we've made no progress all week since we lost the first 2 people. Now one of the other people who I trusted is gone. I need to step away from this. I went back a month later with some other friends who needed a fill. They didn't know I hadn't cleared. So I was there. I was like, well, I haven't cleared yet. And they were like, well, what have you done up to? I was like, well, I've done up to and through beta, which is basically the second to last mechanic. And they were like, oh, so you've done all the work. You just haven't finished it. I was like, yeah. And then, so we went in and we cleared it in like an hour. So that was that. And I didn't want to make an analysis on that because the initial experience was kind of sour. You know, I wanted to progress through it from scratch and get that clear in the first couple of weeks, and that didn't happen. So I didn't want to make an analysis video. Because of those 3 examples, you can tell if Dragonsong's Reprise, somehow its prog does not go well. Something happens that is just, it just kind of sours the experience. Then I probably won't do it. It just, it doesn't feel the same when you take a step away from it, let everyone else kind of figure it out around you and optimize, and then you go back and kind of do it. Again, it doesn't really change your understanding or how you approach the fight. As long as you know the fight, you can talk about the fight. But something doesn't feel right when it goes that way. So I'm optimistic about Dragon Song's Reprise. I've raided with these people for quite some time. We've had a really good Savage experience. So I'm really hoping that our ultimate experience together goes similarly well. I had a couple of questions that I scrolled past before this one. One of them was asking if I was going to do any Stranger of Paradise videos. I actually talk about that in the other video that I released alongside this one. So the short answer is I want to, but there's no guarantee. There's ideas that I have for it, and you'll probably see a few things. And then there was another one that was asking about Dragoon in endgame content, and it seemed really down on Dragoon, but Dragoon's amazing right now. Ever since those most recent lines of buffs, Dragoon has been like in the top. All the melee are doing insanely well, but where it was like the Reaper is OP meta before, the various changes that have happened over the last few patches have moved Reaper down amongst the melees, all the melees. Some of that is also the people who are uploading parses are using other jobs more than Reaper. So the ones who are getting Biss and playing really well, there's more of them on other jobs than Reaper. So you're seeing kind of that median for Reaper be much lower than before, because people who just kind of like rolled into it at the start of the expansion, have stuck with it and haven't tried anything else, are maybe not progressing at the same pace. But besides that, Dragoon's doing fantastically, so don't be upset about that. And then I have this one. Can I give you a tour in JP when the data center travel opens? I'll explain our ways. I have played on the JP data centers. I raided with Ice, who was in the world first group for the Ultimate Bahamut. I've also with Haru, another content creator who's done some really high-end raiding over on the Japanese data centers, and I've been welcomed by the members of the Japanese community a number of times, much to my surprise, because I didn't think my content was known over there. I learned otherwise over the years, especially during Shadowbringers. I went to Japan for the Japanese fan festival. And I remember one of the women that was there. She walked up to me while I was like getting ready to go into the fan fest. She goes, "Mr. Happy, I love you." I was just like, I don't know what to do with that. No one's ever said "I love you" to me before at a convention. So she then asked she could take a picture real quick. But like that kind of positivity was very, very rampant. I had people helping me with translations over there. I got to have a lot of conversations. And another really common thing that happened, I remember this is back in like 2019 or early 2020. A lot of people wanted to pat my head. My hair was cut shorter than it is now. And a lot of people just wanted to do this to my hair because it was like short and a little pokey. And yeah, you know what? That's actually happened to me here in the States too. So I guess my hair was just very rub your hand over it kind of good. Maybe I'm good luck. I don't know. But no, I've been over there. I mean, my name's in the. I don't know if that's still the case, but there was the Happy Oji-san Fountain of Fire for the Party Finder over there. That was fun. But hey, you know what? I do kind of want to go back and visit the JP data centers again if I can. So data center travel won't allow me to go there because I would need, they need international travel. We can't travel to international data centers. So I need a character over there again, or I need to level the character again. Yeah, I mean, maybe if I am, yeah, I wouldn't mind, but I can't guarantee that anytime soon. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello, good day, hi, and a happy gaming day to you. Same. Not a first time commenting or asking a question, but I have two. I know with the longer patch cycle, there might be more downtime in between patches. Well, I mean, there will be more. There's going to be 2 weeks more if the world is perfect, which it never is. My question is, when do you think Square Enix might downsize the amount in each patch, like less dungeons or every other patch? Dungeons aren't going to slow down or speed up a patch anymore. They've moved away from doing, 3 dungeons to 2 dungeons to 1 dungeon to who knows, maybe we'll have patches without dungeons. Maybe we will. But it's not because they're trying to speed up the patches. That's never been the case. It's because the resource allocation for those things is being sent somewhere else. So it doesn't matter if they did 1 less dungeon. It would just be resources put in something else that wouldn't speed up the patch. It's already a very fast patch cycle. The only way they'll need to downsize is if even with the changes that they've made, if the workflow isn't optimized, that would still cause the patches to slow down or remain the same, but speeding up or trying to reduce it. It's never going to go the other way, is what I'm trying to say. It's going to either take longer and have similar or more content, or it is going to take the same amount of time and be some other variant of that. Oh, and the second question, I almost forgot. And besides Puppet Master, Beastmaster, what other jobs do you think could be limited? I mean, there's a lot of jobs that could be. I don't think they're ever going to do another one, to be honest. So I don't even want to think about what it could be, because I don't think they're even going to do it. Oh, and those were actually like the last questions. Normally there's more like random comments at the bottom, and I guess I hadn't noticed when I read through things when I was on stream, but there's almost none. I mean, there are comments that are just like random ones, like, you know, like, and I say random, but I guess that's maybe not the right word. They're just comments. They're not questions. Like somebody asking if my alpha plushies are multiplying. I just noticed that one. No, there's been 3 of them there for a while, thanks to Square Enix sending me a bunch of them. Some comments about P3S, the ad phase. Somebody appreciating that I brought up Korean food last week, and not like they've said, not generic Korean barbecue, but Yokgaijang, the spicy beef soup that I talked about last. Oh, I want it. It's fine. It's fine. Some commenting on my Discord stuff from last week. But then, so on my stream, we were talking about, so a couple of weeks ago, somebody made a comment about asking me why I had cats when they get in the way of recording. And I didn't expect that person to comment again, asking, did I ever really explain why I had cats? It's because I love my cats. I love having an animal. I love taking care of them. And if one of my cats wants to get in the way of a video, it's not a negative. People love that. Will I go like, oh my God, you're screwing this up. Ha ha ha, look at my fluffy cat. Yeah, sure. But I can give them an amazing home. I can be home for them all the time. Even if that means that they maybe are a little abusive to me because they know I'm home all the time and that they can come bother me anytime they want. But it's well okay, because I love Aloha. I love Ivy. And, you know, I don't have kids. So that's the next best thing. You have, in this order, kids, cats and dogs, birds, and then ferrets. And that's like the order of like things that, you know, that's like the hierarchy of loving smaller creatures, I guess, that you could live in your home. Also probably in the same order of most likely to disrupt what you're doing to the least likely to interrupt what you're doing. So anyway, jokes aside, yeah, no, I love my cats. Also some people clarifying that Maxwell is apparently the name of the Primal Party Finder strat, in which case I don't want to know anything about it, because A, I don't play on Primal, and B, many of you know I have had not good experiences across Primal every time I go to Primal. So I don't know if it's on purpose to make me have a lesser opinion of my anecdotal bad experiences, like, so that I can share. I don't know if it's just like a plot to get me to share those experiences so people don't like I don't know. It blows my mind how often my experiences on Primal are less than good, because I don't think Ether is like a better place realistically, but for some reason I have better experiences on Ether. I'm more in tune. My chakras, my energies are more in tune with Ether, much to my own surprise. So I guess it just kind of works out that way. But with that, yeah, I figured this video would not be much longer than, 30 minutes, and it looks like I was right, because I could see there weren't that many questions. So with that, thank you for watching this week's episode of Mondays with Mr. Happy. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share, and ask your questions for next week. And hey, if you like the videos you see on the channel, in fact, you know what? After this, I'm uploading a small little highlight reel that I made of Mario Party stuff, just so I can kind of gauge people's interest on it. Right after this, before this even releases, I'm gonna have uploaded that, and then I'll just do the 5-minute one, and then I'll see how people feel about it, and then maybe I'll do the longer ones. So anyway, that's where I'm at. So thank you for watching. I'll see you all next week, and until then, bye bye.